Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and start the introduction. And after the presentation, we'll have some time for questions and answers. I'm happy to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Cedric Pluguez-Turull. He is a assistant professor of radiology at University of Miami. He did his residency at U of T in Texas, and then did his fellowship in breast imaging at UCLA. And this presentation is a product of our task force that we completed, and with the publication in Academic Radiology. We're going to be talking about the Radiology Journal Club with an update with best practices and lesson learned from other specialties. And we have Dr. Lauren Alexander here. She is at Jacksonville, Florida, Mayo Clinic. And I'm just going to hand over the presentation now to Cedric.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that introduction, Angela. Hi, everyone. My name is Cedric Pluguez-Turull, and I was part of a task force for the AAR Radiology Research Alliance that seeks to study best practices for the Radiology Journal Club. Our title for our recent publication, which is currently in press but available online since January 2024, is the Radiology Journal Club, an update on best practices and lessons learned from other specialties, and I will be presenting some of the content highlights. I will ask, I guess at the end, I will handle any of the questions. You're welcome to place some of them in the group chat. And Angela and Lauren, if you could help me keep track of those, I would appreciate it, since I have it off to the side. We are drowning in information, but starved for knowledge. It's a quote by John Naisbitt, which is an American author and public speaker in the area of future studies. There has been a proliferation of scientific knowledge, and the number of medical journals is constantly increasing. Although the exact number of medical journals and articles published each month is not exactly known, it is estimated that every 20 minutes, one article is being included in some indexing system. So how do we try to keep up with scientific literature in our field? Well, one very good way is a journal club. I have no relevant disclosures for this presentation. So what is a journal club? It is a presentation and discussion of medical literature in a group setting. Critical appraisal of medical evidence is one of the structured didactic activities outlined in the ACGME Radiology Residency Educational Requirements, including the specific requirement for scholarship that advances residents' knowledge and practice of the scholarly approach to evidence-based patient care. Integrating evidence-based radiology, or EBR, activities into the training program curriculum can teach trainees and even faculty how to evaluate and apply research study results to their clinical practice. But methods to support the educational benefits and guide faculty to build and maintain a successful journal club session is variable across radiology and other medical specialties. Therefore, the members of the Radiology Journal Club, best practices from across the country task force of the AUR, have gathered literature resources across multiple specialties to summarize key steps and resources for radiology departments to establish or revive their journal club activities. A little bit more on the history of the journal club. We know that the first medical journal club is attributed to Sir James Paget, a surgeon in St. Bartholomew's Hospital in London, who started reading journals regularly with his students in a baker's shop near the hospital gate circa 1835. Word on the street is that since then, snacks are an expectation at journal club meetings. And we know that this is a great encouragement for participation if resources allow. The history of Radiology Journal Club embodies a journey of growth and adaptation, from early initiatives that laid the foundation for evidence-based radiology education to their current state. Many institutions have demonstrated the utility of radiology journal clubs in the setting of career development and training of residents and fellows. For instance, Kelly and Cronin reported in 2010 establishing an EBR journal club at the University of Michigan to effectively promote evidence-based practice and continuous professional development amongst its participants. Likewise, Boatsman et al. Described in 2012 how the JACR Journal Club at the University of Iowa contributed to the resident education on topics of practice management and healthcare policy. The separate concept of a structured JC in radiology was addressed in 2009 by Heilbrunn and found that a structured format with prepared resources effectively taught EBR concepts to radiology residents, but was hampered by inadequate literature search results and inaccessible journal articles. Later, Rodriguez et al. In 2020 would describe enhancements to the Radiology Resident Journal Club, such as providing structured preparatory material and subspecialty faculty advisors based on topics, which improved the educational value and fostered a culture of critical thinking and scholarship. Outside of radiology, studies have confirmed that the educational impact of a journal club to increase trainees' literature reading habits, which was published by Linser and Campbell, and also to improve their understanding of study design and interpretation of study results. In 2008, Dina Dayelen published a meta-analysis of journal club publications and found involvement in journal club impacted participants' learning outcomes, such as understanding of biostatistics and research design, and also improved critical appraisal of literature. Although the exploration of emerging topics such as the effect of artificial intelligence on radiology has now taken center stage, this discussion may not be fully integrated into didactic activities given by practicing radiologists. This was studied and published in a systematic review of AI curricula in radiology, published by Guerin et al., which found 60% of the learning systems in AI included a journal club. Other areas of growing interest includes climate change and sustainability in radiology practice. Now we are ready to discuss the steps to establishing an effective journal club, which include creating a leadership JC team, outlining the scope of topics and the intended audience, determining at optimal structure and timing, defining goals and objectives, providing tools to help participants select appropriate articles and analyze the literature prior to the meeting, and recruit and deploy facilitators. We will discuss each of these topics in detail over the next few slides. Number one, building the JC team. Having a team responsible for planning and running the program can distribute tasks and offload burden from a single faculty member. Additionally, outlining their specific roles is essential. Across specialties, graduate medical education programs utilize a single faculty member or a small group of faculty as the journal club leadership, while others use a mix of faculty and trainees or trainees alone. For example, the journal club at University of Michigan identified 2 early career faculty with strong interest and experience in EBR as designated leaders of their sessions and had good results. Alternatively, the EBR journal described by Heilbrunn in 2009 in the University of Utah gave residents ownership of the entire process of topic identification, literature search, article selection, and leading the discussion. This strategy proved somewhat successful. However, the residents reported that they would prefer that future reading recommendations come from the attendings rather than resident literature searches. Since our task force had no multi-institutional radiology publication available, we reviewed methods employed by other subspecialty programs, specialty programs, and found that in a survey of 117 anesthesia program directors, with 80 respondents, faculty alone organized selected articles and moderated journal club, while only a small fraction of residents had full responsibility for organizing, moderating, or choosing articles. Presentations were nearly evenly split with faculty alone or residents presenting with faculty guidance. The majority of anesthesia program directors, 81%, favored a faculty leader as they felt they could ensure the selection of good articles and facilitate a candid discussion. In contrast, A survey of 388 family practice residency programs found that designating a leader correlated with overall effectiveness of the journal club, whether the leader was a faculty member, a trainee, or a combination of the two. Therefore, we believe that a small group of faculty or a mix of faculty and trainees should offer the best results. Step number 2, we then have to define the journal club parameters, the who, where, when, and how. Firstly, identifying the scope of the journal club can allow the schedule to match the needs of the target audience, whether department-wide or focused on one subspecialty area, ensuring the distribution of topics to include relevant subspecialties or the whole department for broad topics on AI or health policy. Next, your target audience. While the activity may be directed at trainees, topics that also engage the faculty may have a significant impact on outcomes, as one study by Brzezinski in 2020 found that average attendance by 5 or more faculty members was associated with long-term success and higher rates of anesthesiology resident attendance. Additionally, rotating the style of each session can keep the audience engaged over time. For example, an ENT residency program improved faculty and resident attendance by rotating topics through 3 different sessions: a controversial clinical question, a deep dive into specific study design, and a landmark paper in the field that had led to changes in clinical practice. In terms of timing and setting, replacing a lecture or case conference with journal club during dedicated conference time can help trainee engagement, since trainees are used to the cadence of their more structured learning sessions. Alternatively, holding sessions at rotating times and locations over the year may improve access for a larger audience with variable shift times. A location out of the hospital campus, such as at a restaurant or the house of a faculty, may double as a social event and serve to improve morale, wellness. However, while meals can motivate attendance, events outside of regular work hours and farther from the hospital or clinics might not be attractive or accessible to many. This is where feedback and knowing the culture of the audience should be sensibly applied. Deciding on the setting is also important. Whether the journal club is held in person, fully virtual, or hybrid will depend on specific program needs and electronic resources. But after the COVID pandemic, we have seen widespread use of virtual platforms that have enabled broader participation. Shetland from Penn State published in 2017 a summary of the JC progression into virtual platforms, which later Nets and Belfi expanded on strategies to optimize implementation, which has proven transformative, convenient, and has increased engagement across all participants. The next step, number 3, is defining goals and learning objectives specific to the scope of the Radiology Journal Club, the what, why, and also the how. Doing this has been correlated with long-term success of the program. But before we start setting goals and objectives, we need to understand what they are. Goals are typically long-term overarching ideas concerning what you want for your journal club. An achievable outcome that is generally broad. Goals can range in scope and feasibility, but most goals are ambitious yet achievable. Effective goals should align with a larger personal or professional vision. Think of goals as guiding principles that will give you direction and focus as you work. Objectives, on the other hand, are shorter term and defines measurable actions to achieve an overall goal. They tend to be narrow in scope, easy to measure, and realistic. No matter how small, a good objective will lead you closer to your goal, and both are necessary for the success of your journal club. Be specific in your goals and even more specific in your objectives. The more specific you are, the easier it is to follow through. On the left, I present the 3 most common goal type categories we can use with some examples. Time-bound, which are goals with deadlines. Outcome-oriented, which are goals with target results. And process-oriented, which are goals with actions. Any of these three may apply to your radiology journal club, but the main one that would apply to most journal clubs is a process-oriented goal in the education of our trainees. On the right, you will see the SMART template for setting objectives to further your goal. This template helps derive achievable objectives from a specific goal. The template includes space to specify how each objective follows SMART goal criteria, so you can ensure that each objective you set for your team is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. An example of a goal list for a radiology journal club could include reviewing foundational radiological knowledge, learning the basis for the current standards of patient care in radiology, developing interpersonal and communication skills, promoting professionalism, and reviewing literature through a system-based practice lens. Some general learning objectives that can be applied towards common educational goals in Radiology Journal Club are the following. Define the use of evidence-based medicine in radiology practice scenarios. Perform literature review to identify appropriate research articles for a specific clinical scenario. Analyze research study design. Critique research study results. Identify how research results may apply to specific clinical scenarios in radiology. Demonstrate communication skills by presenting or leading discussion in a small group setting. Some of these journal club objectives nicely overlap with the American Board of Radiology mandate that all radiology residents be educated in basic research principles, epidemiology, and statistics. Now we move to step number 4, which is to provide resources for article selection, preparation, and presentation. Article selection can be a daunting task to make sure the topics suit the presenter's abilities, the audience's interest, and the learning objectives of the session. While some papers suggest that trainees selecting articles helps sustain interest and investment, others describe the preference for selection by a faculty leader to ensure relevant articles and effective interactive discussions. Direct relevance to a specific issue in current patient management is appreciated by participants across multiple studies. Additionally, selecting several articles on a single topic that use different study design or techniques can help elucidate the strengths and weaknesses of each research paradigm. Now, to help participants prepare as presenter or as an engaged audience member, basic articles and information required for critical appraisal of a paper can be compiled and stored in an easily accessible location. Also, the use of a structured appraisal tool or worksheet to guide evaluation of the session's article has been shown to work well and may provide an objective evaluation method for EBR skills as part of ACGME milestone assessment. An online shared file system can be linked in calendar invites and email or other announcements in anticipation of the meeting. An orientation session at the beginning of the academic year can also help presenters and attendees be familiar with the resources and typical pre-work for journal club and set clear expectations for participation. Some programs may begin the journal club cycle by reviewing statistical techniques or other topics to improve skills in critical appraisal of a scientific paper. Faculty mentors should be identified to work with the presenting trainee before the session to review the article and discussion points that meet the session's objectives. This faculty member could then serve as a facilitator for the session. Finally, in sessions that include multiple articles, residents at different postgraduate years could present in the same session, allowing senior residents to gain mentoring experience. For departments or programs without an active journal club, online resources are available for trainees and faculty that can be accessed in a group setting to foster discussion amongst the participants without spending additional time or energy preparing content. Radiology journals may identify articles as having good potential for journal club distribution. For example, the American Journal of Rentgenology, or AAR, identifies an article each month for the journal club collection and includes a study guide and additional reading options that can be used for live or asynchronous sessions. Another example is the American College of Radiology Resident and Fellow section, which provides 2 journal clubs on AI and economics. Radiology Journal Club resources at other institutions can also help fill gaps in content for specific sessions. The online breast imaging resource at Boston Medical Center has a breast imaging pub club or repository of up-to-date breast imaging articles, offering an excellent educational resource for radiology sections. Finally, there is a growing application of social media in medical education that allows for discussion or microblogging, which can potentially be used for real-time and asynchronous journal club events. Here below on the left, I included the list of reference materials our task force compiled for participants in a radiology journal club, which is available for reference in our publication. Moving on to step number 5, facilitate. The journal club should be set up to ensure a robust discussion rather than a lecture. Our literature research found more enduring journal clubs were more likely to include an active learner format and a focus on elucidating the impact of research design. A designated facilitator would ideally promote a timely and efficient active dialogue amongst participants to fulfill the goals and objectives of the journal club. Now, here are some tips to help set up optimal facilitation at your journal club. Identifying a designated facilitator that is well-versed in the session's topic should encourage discussion through several means. The room setup can also facilitate exchanges by using circular seating or breaking into smaller groups. The facilitator can also start the discussion with planned open-ended questions for the presenter and other participants. Less experienced presenters may benefit from having some questions prepared in advance or by meeting with the facilitator before the presentation date. Also, including statisticians, subspecialists, or even the article's author can provide additional evidence-based insight to support or refute the paper's findings. However, aggregating expert human resources is often easier with a virtual or a hybrid format. All right, so we have set up our journal club with the previous 5 steps. How can we keep it going? Well, here are some barriers to success you should be aware of. Usual challenges with a traditional journal club format include audience boredom, limited educational value for the non-presenting attendees, superficial coverage of a topic, or discussions that do not apply to common patient encounters. In our article, we discussed the results of a cardiothoracic surgery training program, which created an interactive debate-style journal club to address these potential issues with good results. Trainees preferred the more interesting and in-depth discussion, felt they had a better understanding of the clinical controversies, and found the debates more directly applicable to their clinical work. However, they also found that the debate style required more preparation time, that non-presenting attendees did not know which articles would be discussed, and that the winner and loser aspect involved in the debate style format was not preferred. A debate style could still be an option for increased engagement at your institution. Timing and frequency are also barriers that are likely never to be perfected. Virtual conference has been embraced post-COVID, but scheduling a time when trainees, faculty, and other members of the interprofessional team can participate synchronously can be challenging. Trainees who are post-call or on night float rotations may not be available for a synchronous session. Similarly, trainees and faculty who are actively engaged in patient care may be unavailable. In these instances, programs may consider platforms that allow for an asynchronous journal club with participation regardless of time, or a hybrid live platform to allow offsite involvement. The journal club can also be recorded for later review by participants who were unable to attend at the scheduled time. Maintaining an engaging journal club requires regular assessment of the participants' experience to identify needs and gaps. This may be related to in-person versus virtual formats, duration of the session, timing or frequency, or the topics covered. Then adjust accordingly and reevaluate. Rotating facilitators can stimulate new topics and prevent overextending specific faculty. We also recommend that supplemental resources be reviewed and updated on a schedule to keep them relevant. Finally, programs would consider dedicating one session to summarize topics covered over the year and how they applied any specific papers or findings to their practice, which will make impact much more tangible. So to conclude, radiology journal clubs remain an efficient and essential vehicle for cultivating critical inquiry and professional development within the radiological community. Given the paucity of literature in radiology, our paper provides guidance from programs to implement and sustain a successful journal club with discussion of potential barriers. Using a structured format to organize and plan the journal club activity helps delineate roles and share the work for a successful event across a team and allow the event to fit the interests and needs of the target audience. The events can be made more effective by providing the participants with tools and resources to build their skills in critical literature review. Using facilitators will also enhance the presentation, analysis, and discussion. We should promote radiology journal clubs in all of its various formats to offer the opportunity to both trainees and faculty to build skills in evidence-based practice, foster innovation, and advance radiological knowledge in this ever-changing discipline. I appreciate your time. Thank you for participating in this activity today, and I will take any questions at this time.
Thank you so much for that presentation. So audience, if you have any questions, please type in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer. In the meantime, do you guys, I know that Cedric, you are in charge of the journal club at your institution. How do you run it?
So, I actually started the breast imaging journal club at my institution. So it was section specific, not department wide. And you know, it came up because of the need to review or kind of tease out the optimal management of clinical scenarios that we found challenging and we were encountering in our breast imaging practice that were all relevant for everyone to be aligned. As I saw the opportunity to make it more frequent and do it on a monthly basis and integrate the fellows to prepare the presentations and the articles for their own education, then we started integrating articles such as review articles, landmark studies. We also started integrating articles on emerging modalities, contrast enhanced mammography, and things like, you know, breast CT and other things. So yes, and we decided to do it on a monthly basis because that our faculty got very excited about having this forum to discuss things that were happening in clinic. One of the great things that I found is that I opened the forum for article selection for all of our faculty and even our fellows. If they saw a great article that thought it would be good for all of us to discuss, they would send it to me. I would put it in a list, and I would try to prioritize the ones that had more pressing content. Meaning if we start and we implement a contrast enhanced mammogram at our institution, and so then we had several things that would arise, and then immediately that came as a priority to discuss articles that would address that. Yeah, I love leading it, and yeah, it's been a great experience.
Great. How about you, Lauren? Do you guys have journal club?
So similarly, it's on the subspecialty level. So I run it with our body fellows once a month as part of their Thursday morning conference curriculum. And it's a two-person fellowships. So we do incorporate whatever residents are on body imaging related rotations in all the Thursday morning conferences that month. So generally it's one fellow and one or two residents presenting articles. And it's a combination of letting them pick because, they're not all going into body, obviously at the resident level particularly. So wanted to make sure it overlaps maybe in some way with their areas of interest as well for the senior level residents. And then I always keep a running list similar to Cedric of if they're stumped or they don't know, what to pick, I can give them a couple to pick from as well. And then we have a shared drive with resources to go over how to present an article, what to, how to critique it, et cetera. Because I really want them focused on talking about the article. So we don't spend time on a PowerPoint. We just pull the paper up in the room so they can point to figures or tables or things like that and really put their time into reading it and, being ready to discuss it rather than making anything to present more formally. So we keep it very conversational at that level.
Is it virtual or in person?
Ours is in person again. We transitioned over the last year and a half to moving that conference back in person. Occasionally we'll send a link if someone needs to join virtually, but we tried to bring it back into person once our restrictions let us.
Mm.
That's a great thing. We had it virtually, we have, several satellites. And I also like that via Zoom, I can record it and upload it to our cloud. It gets processed over the next few hours, and then it generates a link with a password, and then I distribute it to everyone in our faculty list, and a lot of our faculty appreciate it. We have agreed over trial and error that we would do it at 4:30 p.m. Since later time it's not wanted by certain faculty. We tried at noon, but certain satellites do not have a break at noon. So again, I think everybody should weigh, what actually works for your hospital system and your target audience. So 4:30 p.m. is the ideal moment for our people. Some people are driving, they log in and they at least listen. And we found it to be very successful and sustainable long term. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that is very good. We do it virtually and it's always 7 o'clock in the morning, which is kind of brutal, but the nice thing is that there are people, scheduled at other places they can join. And also some of the residents may have gone off service and we didn't have time for them to present. So we have the residents and the fellows present virtually. And the nice thing about having the presentation is that we ask them to incorporate some of their personal pictures so they can share with us, some of their, vacations or family or whatnot, because we don't have that much time to socialize, after work. And it gives us a little window to get them to know on a personal basis, which I love. That's like my favorite part of the journal club, seeing pictures that they share with us, seeing their kids, families, pets, travel photos. So we love that, so that's really fun.
I agree. I actually agree with that because a journal club actually provides that a more casual avenue to kind of interact, be it virtual or hybrid. I mean, ideally in person, but you can make it open format and go off key and discuss other things that
Yeah.
are considered social. So
Yeah.
we definitely do that too.
One of the things that we also do for Journal Club is we have a theme. So for DEI projects, for example, last year we did implicit bias. And so we did articles pertaining to that. So we took a test beforehand, then we did the Journal Club, and then we took another test after. So it was kind of like a pre and post thing. So we're doing this similar thing this year where we're talking about transgender care in breast imaging. So we're gonna do like a pre and a post and then Journal Club about how to, take care of patients in that transgender, patients population, and how to speak to them properly, how to use the correct pronouns, that kind of stuff. So we do have themes going on depending on what we decide to do, which is kind of fun.
That's awesome. We also had a period in time where we were trying to get everyone in our clinical practice to get actualized in the topic of transgender and how we should improve all of our breast imaging clinics and satellites to handle this, kind of new paradigm, or at least be aware of.
Yeah.
So, and I think a journal club lends itself so well to this type of topics, that may be a little bit off didactic time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Anybody in the audience have any questions? Please feel free to speak or write in the chat. Otherwise, I guess I'll just keep asking some more questions then. So how can you figure out who is going to lead the journal club without committing yourself to do it by yourself?
That's a great question. I maybe a lot of people have that realization that why don't we have a journal club? And probably a lot of early career faculty, but they're afraid of throwing their name into the hat and end up with that task by themselves. But what I would say first of all is to bring this up at your section meeting. Section meeting, if it's meant to be a section-wide journal club, or department faculty meeting if it's to be a broader audience with topics related to DEI, to climate, sustainability, AI, health policy, kind of wider topics. And present your case and engage your colleagues. Present the idea of using residents or fellows in any or all parts of the journal club. I wouldn't be surprised if you find yourselves with many volunteers. Questions that will arise will be related to frequency and time, which are tough and will likely not yield an 100% agreement, but can be delayed until a leadership structure is set, and can often be carried out in a very democratic way as a poll with results that can be presented to the department or section later. And ultimately, it's going to be trial and error that will yield a sustainable long-term strategy for your practice.
Yeah. So one of the things that we were just talking about is whether or not we should integrate the residents into the journal club. Basically, what happens with us is that I kind of get the articles ready to go and then I distribute it. But I think getting them to find an article would be maybe even better for better engagement, maybe. What do you guys think?
So, I don't know, Lauren, do you want to?
No, I was just gonna, I think it depends maybe a little bit on their areas of interest and the goals of the journal club. So, one of our goals is just improving that ability to speak to a group, describe something, work through and evaluate the literature. And at first year and a fourth year are going to be at very different stages. So I expect to make suggestions to the first year and potentially dig into a paper with them. And by their fourth year, they've done it a few times and should be able to find an article on their own. So I think tailoring it to their level of experience and letting them pick, though, also gives them that combination of, like, it's not just a homework, go read this, but they can kind of go through that step of, yeah, I saw this weird case, let's work through the literature and see if it applies to our patient population. We do really, for our journal club, focus on more of the clinical research, so not a lot of very deep dive or bench level research, because I want, one of our standing questions is, does this apply to our patient population? Yes or no, why? So that way, they're using, whether they go into academics or private practice, that ability to filter through the literature and see if it can help them with challenging cases.
Yeah, that's a great thought.
Um, for our breast section, I do involve the trainees in article selection. Usually upper level residents and fellows. And I will start the academic year with a fellow with more review articles and landmark studies. And towards the end, I will engage the fellow to see if they have any areas where they feel like they need a little bit more, they feel a little bit more less confident, perhaps something they want to know more. Currently, our current fellow, I remember, um, she offered herself if she could present an article somehow related to MRI for the evaluation of DCIS, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Uh, so I involve usually more upper level um, trainees, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you touched on this before. How do you get over people who may be disinterested or bored or just not, participating in the
Yeah,
journal club?
that's a great idea. I mean, you have to be prepared for not 100% attendance, and I think if you're leading the journal club, you have to be um, open to the idea that there'll be higher or less attendance depending, it's close to the holidays or not. So what happens, what I do is that I involved everyone in article selection. So especially with things that are affecting all of us. So whenever I say, we are discussing this particular article since we just recently implemented this and we are causing this policy shift. This is gonna, and I put it in my emails that are sent out as communication. This may lead to a clinical, like a clinical protocol change in our practice. That's when like 100% attendance happens. But so I do make sure to involve everyone and kind of tell them like, well, we'll be doing a review article. It's, and kind of be straightforward about the mission of the article that we're going to be discussing. We don't take assistance. There's no pressure. You're not supposed to pressure people. If we had the journal club set up to give CME, then I would do that. But so yeah, because their topics are very useful and relevant. We have historically had a great attendance. We do send the link and the articles to all of our trainees that are currently on rotation in the breast section, and we have great attendance by them. At the end of every session during the discussion, I ask for feedback or future recommendations with immediate application of those in our future journal clubs. So is this too long? Is discussing two or three articles too much? Which originally we were discussing 2 articles, to be honest, and we found that was maybe a little bit too intense. So now we're doing 1, leaving a lot of time for discussion and leaving a little bit of opening for that social component where we make announcements and give congratulations for certain things, promotions, and any new hire or any major event, like new kids, new marriage, things like that happens during their journal club setting. So I'm happy that you mentioned that because
It's so fun to catch up. There is a comment here. It says, we pair up journal club with the faculty meeting in order to increase attendance. So that's another good idea.
So our faculty meetings are very, they're full of bullet points of things to go through. So that strategy has not worked with us. So we have definitely learned that we have to keep them separate because there's not enough time for our faculty meetings. We usually have a lot, but our system is expanding and there's a lot of protocol changes. And so I think it depends on how intense or involved your faculty or section meetings are. Also, we tried to combine the faculty meetings with research meetings, and for the same purpose, that did not work because it was taking too long, and one was cast off to the side. So,
Yeah,
but maybe some other sections can have the capacity to do that.
yeah,
Certainly think less meetings could be interpreted as better for a lot of people so that they don't have all this time consumption on a recurrent basis.
yeah. The next one, when a fellowship involves a residency and journal club, we have it during our noon conference time, and the department provides pizza lunch, which has worked very well.
I love that.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love that?
Yeah. I think food's always helpful to gather people around.
I think it's great. And this is a great strategy when you have a journal club that involves trainees, because first of all, they have to be there in the morning, they have to be there in the afternoon. They have to eat. And it's what we put in the article. When you do that and you kind of you insert the journal club in the setting of their scheduled didactic activities, it's just a lot more streamlined.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no doubt about it. If you have the resources, it'll be the most popular journal club,
Yeah. Yeah. We usually have breakfast when we used to get together in person. We'd have this big spread for, bagels and yogurt and fruit and all that kind of stuff. But we couldn't do it during COVID.
Yeah.
So I think the restrictions are easing up a little bit. So maybe we'll go back to being live again. But people get used to being, streaming so they can listen to it while they're driving in, for instance. So it does give them the freedom to do that.
Yes, and this is where a hybrid format is also great. So, in person, but also kind of maybe like broadcast or available on Zoom, also on cloud recording. That could work very good for like casting a broader net of participants. But there's also something to be said about people, opting to not be in person. If you provide food and there's not a lot of people, then it's a balance. It has to do with the program culture. So trial and error, but that's.
Yep. Any other comments or questions from the audience? Okay, well, Lauren, did you want to just summarize everything and
Yeah, no, hard to summarize. That was just a fantastic presentation, Cedric. Really appreciate your time and efforts to put this together and share our task force experience and our upcoming publication. And as he mentioned, this is available on the journal website, although it's not officially fully published, although I'm not sure we're in print anymore anyway. Every journal is sort of online only these days.
We're trying to be green, so
Yes,
sustainability and less paper waste. So I want to thank both of you for being here with us today and all the audience members. I hope you got something out of this wonderful presentation. Thank you, Cedric, for presenting our work, and have a nice evening, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Pleasure. Thank you.